Hello, everyone. Welcome to VHA's on-demand training. My name is Martha Anastasi, and this is Liz Varela, and we are going to be training you on some new hire training so you can learn some brief information about the sales process, about our systems, and our products to get you set up for success.
Fantastic. Hello, everyone. I'm going to walk you guys through the first part of the training, which is more of getting to know the customer, how to greet them properly, and then Martha will walk you through the systems on the second half. Perfect. So let's start with new hire training. Why new hire training? We want to make sure that when you start working in your new position, you know exactly what's expected from you, what you're expected to do, what do you do when there's downtime, how do you fill your day, and how do you properly take care of the customers. So we're going to walk you through some brief scenarios here, walk you through some instructions on how to communicate with customers. So this training will give you an understanding of the needs-based selling versus promo selling of our products and services, and how to use the systems to quickly identify and capitalize on sales opportunities. So what does that mean? What we want to teach everyone is that we are going to sell to the products and not the promos. So that means that we're going to learn how to properly qualify our customers to understand their needs and not just let the promotions drive that sell. So we'll walk through that process as well. All right, your mission as sales associates is to sell the value of our brand and products and services to make a difference in our customers' everyday life. So we want to make sure that we understand is customers have to love their phone. They have to love our service. If not, they will leave us. So there's three main reasons customers leave us. Number one, they believe that the company that they're with, not just us, the company in general, doesn't give enough data to support their everyday needs. So that's one of the reasons. And they leave because they blow through their data, they throttle down to 3G, and they feel like they can get more gigabytes somewhere else or more fast internet service. The second reason they leave our company, is because they steal, someone steals, or they break their phone and they don't have proper coverage. So now they start searching around to see where there's a promotion out there, where can they get a phone cheaper, because we failed to insure them so that if that did happen, they can come right back to us and get another handset from us. And then the other reason, one of the top reasons, is they absolutely do not like the phone that the sales rep put them in. They took it because it was free. They took it because it was easy. And before you know it, they're hating their phone and they leave us. So this is why it's so important that here it says we have to understand how our products and services is going to make a difference in our customers' everyday life. So let's walk through what we're going to learn today. We're going to learn what is called the building blocks of success. We're going to teach you what needs-based selling really is. We're going to learn how to identify sales opportunities, and we're going to walk through key performance indicators. So the first thing that I want to touch on is the 5 building blocks of success. So this is something that we put together to kind of give you a structure of what it means to put on that sales hat and start interacting with our customers. So you want to make sure that we have a great mindset. The minute that we walk into the store every day, we all have life going on and we get it. So what we want to do is we want to learn how to check that at the door. And when we clock in, we need to make sure that we're present and we're here to take care of our customers and represent the brand in the proper way. So we need to make sure that we have sales effectiveness. We have a great mindset, a really positive attitude. We want to learn our products and services. We have to know our prices, and we have to learn the system knowledge. Now, when we learn the products that we sell, the customer is going to trust you more because you're going to know exactly what you're talking about and why you're talking about it, why you're recommending it. Why do we need to know the pricing? It's the worst thing that we can do is quote a customer an incorrect price and then get to the register and say, ooh, sir, ma'am, I'm sorry, you don't qualify for that pricing. The customer never wants to hear that because they're not going to have confidence in what you're offering. They might just walk away and go somewhere else to see if maybe you are absolutely right about the price. And then system knowledge. There's nothing worse than having a customer sit there for an hour while you're trying to figure out how to do that port, how to add that insurance, or how to add those extra gigabytes or sell those absolutely fantastic accessories. Customers don't want to sit there for hours on end until you try to figure out how to work that system. So we're going to make sure that you're able to do that. All right, sales effectiveness, why it matters. Nothing happens until something is sold. It's kind of weird, but if you think about it, that's what it means. Until we start selling our products and services, our customers are just walking in there, just trying to figure out what they need. They may not even know what they're looking for. After all, what good is it to have a fantastic brand, great service, great products if our customers aren't using it? That's what that means. That means that our goal is to create for our customers the best experience so they can have long-time happiness with our products and services, and then they can recommend their friends and their families. One thing to always remember is customers talk. They're either going to promote you and say, hey, that rep over there at that blue store, she is fantastic. She knows everything. I recommend you go to her. Or they're going to say, you know what, that rep at that store in the corner, she's got a horrible attitude. Don't ever go see her there because they're not going to help you out. So remember that customers do talk. So this is why it's important to make sure that that sales effectiveness comes into play when you clock in every morning. All right. An effective sales rep looks for every opportunity in every circumstance to make sure that they take care of their customers. So what does that mean? When a customer comes in, you've got to remember, yes, we're there to take care of them, but you're also sales reps. You're there to sell products and services. That's how you get paid. That's how the store owners make money. That's how the brand makes money. So you've got to look for every opportunity to make a sale. So if a customer's coming in to make a payment, how do we add a second phone? How do we upgrade? Customers coming in with a complaint because the phone's not working, the system's not working. How do we show them that we can fix their issue and on top of them sell them more products and services? Do they need a second line? Do they need maybe some wireless internet? Do they need accessories? We're always looking for opportunities to sell them extra stuff. Not just because we want to sell them, because they're going to buy it. They need it. The difference is, are they going to buy it from us or they're going to buy it somewhere else? So as a sales rep, you've got to be on point every single time and make sure you're looking for that opportunity to make sure that you capitalize in every situation. The customer is using you as everything that they need. They come to you to shop for phone, accessories, internet, anything extra that they need, that they're coming for you guys for all their wireless needs. All right, so that's why it's so important to make sure that the sales effectiveness comes into play, and that means that you're looking for every opportunity to capitalize on every way to sell a customer our products and services. So it's super important that you remember that you've got to learn all our products and services. It is your responsibility to know what we sell, what they do, and how much they cost, and how they'll affect our customers. All right, let's talk about that attitude and that mindset. There is something interesting that happens here. No matter the circumstance, no matter what's going on in life, 10% is what happens to us, and 90% is how we react. So why did we find it important to put something like this in this training? Because we understand that as sales associates, we are human and we go through life on a day-to-day basis. And you are going to encounter customers that may not be the best to work with, but you've got to remember that no matter what happens, it's how you react to that circumstance. So that's where that attitude and that mindset comes in. Remember, the customer is not mad at you. They're mad at the situation. And some customers may not know how to express that in the best way, so that you're their outlet. So just remember that you want to empathize, sympathize, depending on the situation with the customer. So, ma'am, I understand you're frustrated, and I understand that the system is not working. I'm here to help you. Let's talk about what's going on. When you are calm and you bring your voice down, by nature, they'll start calming down and bringing their voice down. And when you show them that you care and that you're going to take care of their situation or their issue, you're going to see that they're going to change that entire attitude towards you. Now, will it work 100% of the time? Unfortunately not. We do have some customers that are a little bit out there, but for the most part, customers are nice and they want to be treated nice and treat people nice. So You come in there and you start yelling at the customer back because they're yelling at you, and now you're both yelling at each other. That's not a good situation. So you've got to remember, no matter what happens, you control the outcome, you control the situation. Just remember, bring it down, just have compassion for the customer, whatever situation it is, and then just bring down the matter, and then they'll talk to you on an even keel, right? So that's what it means when we talk about that attitude and that sales mindset. We want to make sure that our sales associates always have a positive attitude going into every situation.
And one other
All right.
I want to add one other thing to that. You know, the attitude and sales mindset is also a couple things. It's what is your attitude and mindset as you start your day? Is it, hey, I want to be here. Hey, I'm excited to see what possibilities happen today? Or am I coming with the mindset of I don't want to be here, I didn't sleep enough, I'm so tired, ugh, this again? That attitude is going to impact how the customer experiences you and the store and the brand, and that's going to impact their overall experience, and is going to potentially hurt your ability to sell something to them. Another part of it too is like, if it's slow, what is your mindset when it's slow? Is it, oh, okay, great, this is my time to check out. Let me check all my socials. Let me hop on YouTube. Let me, mess around here. Or is this an opportunity for you to say, hey, how can I bring more customers in here? Do I start making some smile and dial calls? Do I reach out to customers? Do I try and pull people into the store? So that's all the sales mindset to be aware of is, hey, what is my attitude when these things are happening in the store? So there's some other big things to consider.
Fantastic. Thank you there, Martha. Perfect. And then from that, we're going to move on to first impressions. The same way that Martha's talking about that attitude, and we've been discussing the attitude and the mindset is so important. That also goes into play when we talk about first impressions. If you have a bad attitude and you don't want to be there, it's going to show all over your face. So the minute the customer opens that door, they look at you, you look at them, they're going to form that first impression, and they're going to be like, oh, not this rep. They don't even want to be here. They're going to feel it. They sense it. So some geeky knowledge, first impression is a first impression is formed in 1/24th of a second with 60% accuracy. What does that even mean? And all that means is it's quick. An impression is formed pretty quickly of one another. Another example would be a customer comes into the store and they never buy anything. They're just that customer that looks around, asks a lot of questions. So you don't even bother asking any more questions. You're like, oh, they're never going to buy. Well, you never know that one more time that they do come in, they might need another on a phone or something happen that they might need some services, but you've already formed an impression of that customer. So you're not even asking them or qualifying them anything anymore. The same way when a customer comes in and they look at you and you don't stand up and you don't greet them and you don't stop looking at your phone and you don't get off your YouTube, the customer is going to be like, oh my gosh, I don't even want to have to deal with it. They don't want to be here. I want you guys to remember that today customers have options. There is a lot of competition, and I'm not just talking about your booth competition, which is all around you. There's other options. Customers can go to Metro, they can go to Cricket, they can go anywhere else to get service, but they're walking into your store. So keep in mind that if they don't feel appreciated, they can go take their business somewhere else. So let's talk a little bit about what that first impression looks like. There was a survey that was taken, and then we were asked some consumers, I think it was 100 consumers, when you interact with a sales associate, what's more important to you? Body language, tone of voice, and what they actually said was the three top things that customers talked about. 55% of the customers said that body language mattered to them. So what does body language mean in a setting like ours? It means that we actually stand up, we look at the customer, and we greet them as they come in. We walk around that counter and we greet them, meet them halfway, and say, hi, welcome to Boost Mobile. My name is Liz. What brings you in today? For those of you that are working at a 4.0 store, some interesting information for you to know is that table in the middle that has those stools, that actually has a name. It's called a talking table. And it was designed in the mind of when you meet your customer and they come in, you guys kind of meet right there in the middle, and you guys can sit there and talk across each other. You can lay out phones there for the customer. They can sit there and listen to you while you're recommending the best phones that we have and the best products and services. That talking table is used for a purpose. So that body language means you're going to get up, you're going to walk away from your POS system, and you're going to walk towards the customer and you're going to greet them. Now, if you still have social distancing if preferences set in your store, definitely utilize that social distancing requirements that your store is using. But for the most part, we're able to go ahead and meet with our customers and interact with them in a close manner. The other thing that was noted was 38% of our customers said that the tone of the sales rep's voice mattered. So what does that even mean? So if a customer comes in and you're like, "Hi, can I help you?" kind of feeling all down and mopey, that's going to translate to the customer versus saying, "Hi, welcome to Boost Mobile. My name is Liz. Are you coming in for our free internet?" That's a big difference. They want to feel excited. They want to feel like you want them in their store. You want to take care of them. So that tone of voice, that excitement that you bring when you checked in, when you left everything at the door, and when you thought about your mindset and your attitude, that is going to play into it very big for the customers. And only 7% of the customers really cared about what you say. Why is that? Because if they feel like they can trust you and they can talk to you and they can interact with you and they can have a conversation with you, nothing you say matters, because they're just going to listen to everything you have to say, because customers are coming in there because you are the subject matter expert. Remember that. You guys know more than the customer in most cases, and the customer is going to listen to your recommendations and whatever you're saying. So keep that in mind. So when you are coming into work and we're talking about all the important things of mindset and attitude, remember that the first impression absolutely counts. Now, also keep in mind that we have the final saying in here. It says, a last impression, it goes well beyond that first moment. So what does that mean? That means that it's going to last. If you treat that customer well and you take care of them, they're going to think about it. They're going to tell their friends. They're going to tell their families. But if they have a bad interaction with you, they're definitely going to tell their friends and their families not to come into the store again. So keep in mind that, yes, that first impression goes way beyond that first moment. That customer is going to think about you when they can't download their apps, when they're running out of space, when they just cracked their screen protector, when they need a new cord because the dog chewed it up. Anything that comes to wireless, they're going to think about you, because that first impression was lasting a long time for them. Does that make sense? So that's what it means when we talk about our first impressions. Fantastic. Now that we understand mindset, first impressions, attitude, let's talk about what we do not want to be. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the term used car salesman. Now, I've been doing this training for quite a while, and I've found some mixed emotions. Some reps have heard of this, and some have never heard of the term used car salesman. So a used car salesman is a term that is used when someone's kind of shady, or someone that you really can't trust, or you're kind of, your red flags are coming up all over the place. That's what it means to be a used car salesman. So let's talk about some of those characteristics that you might encounter when you have an interaction with a used car salesman. A used car salesman usually has the characteristics that they don't represent themselves very well, nor the company that they work for. It's just kind of like really shady, slimy kind of thing. They lack empathy for their customers. They really don't care about their customer and their feeling or what their customer wants. They focus on their product instead of the person. So remember, when we first started training, we talked about selling to the needs of the customers, not the promotions. That's exactly what this means. They don't care about you. They just care about selling their product. They're pretty rude with their customers. They're very pushy. They want to push their products and services on you to make you feel kind of uncomfortable and kind of like you have to make a decision. They're really pushy. They make you feel uncomfortable, like you have to buy something from them, like they're not going to take no for an answer. They rather keep watching their YouTube, social media. They are scrolling through maybe TikToks or pictures, or even talking to their friends and family, and they're not really paying attention to you or what you need. And they love talking more than they love to listen. So those are the characteristics of what we consider to be a used car salesman. Just remember, someone that you would not want to buy anything from, and you just kind of feel weird from them. All kinds of red flags coming up. Now let's talk about the characteristics of a wireless expert, a subject matter expert, which is what you are. A wireless expert represents themselves very well. Keep in mind, you're representing yourself, the brand, and the owner that you work for. So they represent all four very well. They show empathy for their customers. They focus on the customer and the customer's needs. They are warm. They are approachable. They help the customer find what the customer needs and let the customer decide. That's that thing that we talk about, and you're going to continue to hear us saying it. We want to sell to the needs of the customers, not the promotions. They want to spend time with the customer and get to know them well and listen to them. So if you ever find yourself in a situation where you're exhibiting the top half of the characteristics of a used sales salesman, pause, take a deep breath, and just remember exactly what you're here for and how important it is to ensure that we're working to the needs of the customers. So for those of you that have never heard of that term, used car salesman, there it is in a nutshell. That's what a used car salesman is, and we want to make sure that we never depict those characteristics when we're working with customers, and we always put on our wireless expert hat and make sure that those are the characteristics that we're showing when we're taking care of customers. Fantastic. All right, let's talk about an action plan. So we talked about quite a few things in these first few slides. What are some things that you're going to do to incorporate what you've learned, your first experiences with your customers, when you greet them? What are you currently not doing that you're going to start doing? Make sure that you write that down, because we want you guys to not remember it just for this training, but we want you guys to remember it and put it into play. So I'll give you an example. If you don't greet your customers with your hooks, is what we're going to call it, which sounds a little something like this. Hi, welcome to Boost Mobile. My name is Liz. What brings you in today? Or, hi, welcome to Boost Mobile. My name is Liz. Are you coming in for our free internet? If you don't sound something like that, maybe that's something that you incorporate into your action plan. That is something that you want to start adding when you start interacting with your customers. If you are not in the habit of getting up and greeting your customers, maybe that's another idea of an action plan. So anything that you've learned in these few slides that you haven't been doing, let's make sure that we write them down and incorporate them as action steps for yourself going forward. Martha, anything to add on that?
Yeah, and maybe it's part of your mindset. Maybe you're recognizing through this training of like, I feel like I have to go to work now. I really don't want to do this. Maybe part of your action step is to like have a little pep talk with yourself before you step into the store to walk. Maybe it's to find other things you can do on your downtime rather than scrolling through your phone. Maybe some of those are the action steps that you want to take to help you with that salesperson mindset.
Great. Fantastic. All right. So now that we know that our mindset, our attitude, first impressions, and the difference between a used car salesman and an actually wireless expert, now we understand that. Let's talk a little bit about how we start interacting with our customers. We want to make sure that the greet is a lasting impression, because remember, this is where that first impression comes in. So the greeting, why is the greeting so important? Because that's where the customer is going to start to get to know you, and that's where that interaction starts. If the customer doesn't trust you, I want you guys to remember that. And if they don't feel comfortable with you, those walls for the customer are not going to come down. So whenever you start making those recommendations, they're not going to trust you with it. And they might just gather a bunch of information and go somewhere else to just make sure that what you were saying was accurate. So let's talk about that greet. Why is the greeting important? Is one of the things that we want to make sure that you remember. how it's structured. And it's weird. It's a greeting, but there's an actual structure to that greeting, right? We want to welcome them. We want to talk about our name brand. We want to exchange names, and we want that icebreaker. Now, icebreaker, I know for a lot of people, that's kind of weird. And it's like, oh, I don't understand. I don't know how to do the icebreaker. Icebreaker is something very simple. Something as simple as such a great day outside. Oh, I love your hat, your purse, anything just to get the customer just chatting with you, just getting that that relaxation between you and the customer. Don't forget about your tone. Your tone has to be there. You have to sound cheerful. You have to sound happy. Make sure that you smile and you're upbeat. Make sure that you understand that not every customer that is going to walk into your store is going to be a customer looking to buy a new phone. You got customers that are coming into your store to make a payment, to add a line, something's not working, or they're experiencing issues. So understand that some customers might come in there upset. We talked about that at the beginning, right? So make sure that you use your empathy statement. Sir, ma'am, I understand you're frustrated. I understand you're upset. I'm here to help you. Let's talk about what's going on. Make sure that you're using your empathy statement. Make sure that your icebreaker is something simple. Don't make it a big deal. It's something, the weather, the traffic, nails, hat, anything. And then make sure that the transition statement is there. Make sure that you're there to understand them, and make sure that you ask open-ended questions. Now, for those of you that may not know what open-ended questions are, no worries. We're going to walk you through that today. And by the time you're done, you're going to know the difference between an open-ended question and a closed-ended question. And you guys are going to be able to communicate with your customers in such an effective way that it's going to actually save you time because you have to ask less questions. All right. So I want you guys to practice your greet. Write it down. Doesn't matter if it sounds trivial or it's kind of silly. Write your greet down. Hi, welcome to Boost Mobile. My name is Liz. Are you coming in for our summer promos? Well, I had no idea you had summer promos. What are they? That's a segue to start talking to your customers. That's why it's so important to make sure that your greet is one of your strongest first interactions with your customers. All right, now that we understand that our greeting is important, let's talk about the 5 core questions. Now, the 5 core questions is something that we implemented about a year ago. And the reason why we did it was we had a lot of reps say to us, you know what? I don't even know how to begin a conversation with a customer. Customer comes in, they want a free phone. I just show them the free phone and check them out. And those, remember that not every customer, but a lot of our customers that get those free phones, they might just not stick around with us for a long time unless we attach it to more things. And you'll learn a little bit more about that. But the purpose of these questions is so that you can understand how to start having a communication with your customer so that you understand their needs. You need to understand that a customer has a beginning and a middle and an end. So this 5 core questions is that beginning, if you will. The customer comes into your store and says, hey, I'm looking to see what your promos are. You're going to say, fantastic. So I understand what you're looking for. And then you start with these questions. What company, what carrier are you currently with? The reason why that's one of our most important questions is because we need to understand the starting point for that customer. We need to understand where they're coming from. Keep in mind that a customer isn't always a brand new customer. It's a new customer. So let's say that the customer is like, hey, I need a new phone. I saw you have a promo. And you didn't realize they were already a Boost customer. And you're like, yeah, this phone is for free. Let me show it to you. And you get to the register and you realize, oh, you're an existing customer. Sorry, you don't qualify for that phone. You don't qualify for that promo. Customers never want to hear that they don't qualify. So before you start making any recommendations or quoting any prices, you have to really understand where they're coming from. Are they existing customers? Are they new customers? You also need to have understand your competition. So if you're new to wireless and you don't know who Metro is, and you don't know who Cricket is, and you don't know who Gen Mobile is, and you don't know who any of these prepaid companies are, those are your competition. You need to understand who they are, and your homework is go do some research on them. Know who they are, because if a customer is coming in from Metro, you want to understand why they're coming in from Metro. What's happening that they're wanting to leave, right? So that's one of the biggest reasons is what company and what company are you currently with. The next question is, why are you looking to switch from your current carrier or company, and how long have you been with them? To me, that's also a super important question because the customer is in your store for a reason. They're looking to switch from the current carrier for a reason. Now, if you can't show the customer that you can resolve that issue, then why would they want to even switch if they're going to have that same issue with us next month? I'll give you an example. Customers switching from Metro because they're saying Metro doesn't have enough data for my everyday use. By the time I get to 3 weeks into my payment, my data slows down. And and by the time I have to pay it again, it's been a week, and then my data goes fast again. And you guys will understand a little bit about that. So that what that means is the customer is using a lot of high-speed data. And if you don't understand how they're using it, they're going to bring those same habits over to us. And before you know it, they're going to run out of high-speed data with us, and they're going to run into your store, and they're going to throw that phone at you, and they're going to complain. Versus you saying, okay, let's take a look at how much data you're using. And then you realize, okay, I've got to teach you how to manage your data so that you don't run out of data. That's very different from just selling them whatever plan, whatever phone, is we're going to teach them how to manage the data. So you got to understand why they're switching so that you can help them and show them that you're going to resolve that issue. The next part of that question is,
Can
how
I
long
add
have they
something
been with
real
us?
quickly to that one? The other importance of the why are you looking to switch from your current carrier is to help identify if there's potentially fraud here as well. So understanding how long they've been with their carrier, why they're wanting to switch, some of those things can help filter out so you know, like, hey, is this potentially a fraud activation where they just want to activate the phone and they're not going to stay with us, or they're going to, resell the device or something fraudulent? Asking that question and getting really clear on why they want to switch and how long they've been with their current carrier, that might help bring some of that to the surface so you know, okay, this is a fraud customer. We actually don't want to sell to this customer.
Fantastic. Yes, and that's that second part of that question where you want to understand if a customer says to you, I've been with Metro for 2 months, and then I would get really curious and say, oh, okay, what company were you with for Metro? Oh, I was with Cricket. How long were you with them? Oh, I was with them for a month. That should be a red flag. You should be like, this customer is hopping from carrier to carrier, and talk to your manager and your owner, because there might be some protocols that you put into place. If you experience a customer like that, might make them pay 3 months in advance, might make them pay full price for the phones. There's options for them. So make sure that you learn how to ask these questions. So if those red flags come up for you, your manager can direct you on exactly how to take care of that customer. That's why it's so important to make sure that you get those questions out. Your third question is, how much are you currently paying with Cricket, Metro, T-Mobile? You want to understand that customer's price plan. Don't be afraid to start high and recommend a $60 plan to a customer if you feel that that customer definitely needs that. When you ask that customer how much are they currently paying, ask them what they get with that. What do you get with that $60? Oh, I get, 10 gigs of hotspot, and I get, 35 gigs of high-speed data. Boom, right there that you're going to realize in your mind, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, if I offer them the same price plan that I have, I've got double the hotspot. I got way more stuff to give them, so that way they can see the value of it. So it just allows you to kind of set a platform and start thinking in your mind. We want that bubble, that thinking bubble, to come up in your mind invisibly and start saying, oh, okay, this is why, and this is how I can resolve the problem, and this is what I can offer them, and this is what they're currently paying, and this is what they need. So that imaginary bubble is going to be there so that you can start envisioning what you're going to recommend to the customer. The next question is, how much data are you currently using? Now, I never encourage any of the reps that I work with to recommend a rate plan without knowing exactly how much data a customer is using. So it's very simple to understand that. The first thing you're going to ask the customer is, how much data are you using? 99% of the customers are going to say, I have no idea. So you're going to say, no worries, let's take a look at it. You go to the settings, and right in the settings, you see the data, and you say, last month you used this month you're currently using that. So I recommend that I put you on a plan, and then based on how much they're using. Again, you don't recommend on price plan, you recommend on usage, on the needs of the customer, because if you don't, and they run out of data, then they're gonna come back and they're gonna be very upset. Now there's 2 points to this question, to this thing right here. When you're making a recommendation on data and you recommend the usage, if you notice that the customer is using a lot of data, I'm a huge data usage on my personal phone. I'm always getting notifications that I'm going over my data. I'm a high user. So you want to make sure that if you notice that the customer is using 30, 25, 27, really close to 30 gigs of high-speed data, you know how much data we give. Make sure that you let the customers know, hey, sir, ma'am, you are really using a lot of data. Most companies give about 30, 35 gigs of high-speed data. This is what we offer. How are you using your data? What are you using how are you using your phone? When you listen to music, how do you listen to music? That way you start having an understanding of where they're using your data. Most customers don't realize that when they're using music apps and they use music, they listen to music on YouTube, they're killing their data. Show them that you can use Spotify or a different application to listen to their data, to the music, so it doesn't eat up their data. So this is where your customer service comes in and your expertise, and where you're teaching the customer how to preserve that data. And now they're not going to have an issue when they start running low. They're going to think of you right away. And the last question we want to ask the customers.
One more thing to add to that. Let's say that a customer maybe doesn't have their phone with them, or for some reason you're not able to see their data. You can ask them questions of, how often do you use navigation services? That is a big data user, because if you're driving around, you're not on Wi-Fi. And so if they are using navigation on a regular basis, they're going to be a high user. Anything that's streaming, YouTube, Netflix, if they are using that off of Wi-Fi, they're going to be a high data user. So you're going to want to recommend that they choose the plan that has as much data, unlimited data as possible, because otherwise they're not going to be satisfied with the service.
Great. Thank you. Good point. Fantastic. And then the last question we want to ask the customers, what phone are you currently using? What phone do you currently have? And why is that important? That's important so that you a couple of things here. The last thing you want to do is quote an iPhone user an Android promotion. Or the last thing you want to do is quote an Android user an iPhone promotion, right? And the other reason why we want to do it is so that you kind of have an understanding of that phone also. Is it a newer phone? Do they qualify for a bring your own device program where they use their own phone on our services? And now they can keep their same fantastic phone that they've loved for quite some time, or just now, or whatever the case may be, if it's a newer phone. Or if an outdated phone, and you kind of show your knowledge. If you say to the customer, what phone do you currently have? And they say, well, I have a Stylo 4. In your mind, you should be like, oh, wow, that's a really old phone in your mind. And you should say things that that the phone is having issues. So you can say, oh, you have a Stylo 4? I know a lot of our customers are experiencing storage issues where you can't download apps because it's too full and you got to delete one. Are you experiencing that trouble? And they're going to say yes. Our customers are also not able to save pictures because they run out of space. They got to delete a picture before they take a picture. How often have you experienced that? And they're going to be like, oh my gosh, all the time. And you're going to say, great, on your new phone. And then you start talking to them what they're going to possibly need. So there's a couple of reasons why we want to ask what phone they have. So you know exactly which direction you're going to take your questioning, and you can know exactly which direction you're going to offer, or what direction you're going to take to offer the right phone to the customer. So these are the 5 core questions. We hope that you write them down and you start implementing them. Practice them. Practice having these conversations. Remember, never ever start a conversation with, oh, this is the free phone. Let me show it to you. No, customers are always going to come in and say, what's your free phone? What's your promotion? And we want you to pause, take a deep breath, and say, we have a lot of fantastic promotions, a lot of free phones. So I know what you're looking for. Let me ask you a few questions. And this is where you go through your 5 core questions. If you start your questions that way, we have quite a few promotions. Let me ask you a few questions. The customer's already in that mindset that you're going to ask them questions, so they're not going to get a little frustrated with you. All right? Fantastic. So now let's go through some questions that we're going to ask the customer to identify their needs. Now, this is where we're going to talk about closed-ended questions versus open-ended questions. What's the difference between two? To identify a closed-ended question, I'm going to go through some questions, and then I'm going to show you the differences between one and the other. And then the next slide will kind of go through a little bit of the same. So closed-ended question is primarily a question that a customer or a person can primarily just answer with a simple yes or no. An open-ended question allows that person that you're having a conversation with to answer you with more information to go in depth with that answer versus just a simple yes or no. So we want to make sure that when we're asking questions to understand our customers' needs and wants, we use a lot of open-ended questions because that's going to give us a lot of information, and it's going to give you the information a lot sooner than it is to ask 3 or 4 questions to get to that same answer that you originally wanted to know. So here are some examples of those questions. Are you here to make a payment? Now, if you're, and think about, I want you to think about it in your mind. Are you here to make a payment? What would you normally say? It's either going to be a yes or it's either going to be a no. So that gives us a closed-ended question. What brings you in today? That's more of a question that is going to allow the customer to tell you what they want, what they need, what they're looking for. So that is an open-ended question. So that's the difference between one and the other. A closed-ended question is, are you here to make a payment? Yes or no. What brings you in today? I'm here to make a payment. I'm here because my phone's not working. I'm here because I need a new line. I dropped my phone, whatever the case may be. Do you use a lot of data? Think about it again. Do you use a lot of data? It's either going to be a yes or a no, right? So in the next slide, I'll teach you guys how to go open that question up. So that's a question that you would ask that is closed-ended. Do you need a screen protector or a case while you're here? That's how usually we sell accessories. Do you need a screen protector and a case? The customer's going to 9 out of 10 say, nope, I'm good, thank you. That's a closed-ended question. What do you like about your current phone? Now let's think about that one. Can I just say yes or no with that? I can't. I've got to tell you what I currently like about my phone. So that is an open-ended question. Do you take a lot of pictures? I can think about it and I can say yes or no. So that's a closed-ended question. Where do you experience signal issues? I can't answer that with a yes or no. So that is an open-ended question. What are the top 3 apps that you use on your phone? Another question that you cannot answer with a yes or no. So that is an open-ended question. I'm going to give you guys a little hint just to always remember how to stay away from closed-ended questions. If you ever ask a phone with do you or are you, automatically a closed-ended question. But if you ask your question with what, where, when, why, and how, that is automatically an open-ended question. So just keep that in mind. Do you or are you are primarily going to be closed-ended questions. Stay away from those and just switch it to what, where, when, why, how, and those will turn into open-ended questions.
And the purpose of the reason why we want to ask open-ended questions is because we can't make a recommendation until we know as much as we can about the customer and what they need. And what happens with closed-ended questions is they close off the conversation. So we're going to learn far less when we're asking closed-ended questions. When we ask open-ended questions, that's going to open up the conversation so we can learn more about the customers, really understand what their needs are, so we can make the best recommendation for them and sell the value of what we recommend. So the reason we want to ask open-ended questions is to open up the conversation with the customer.
Great. Yes. So let's talk about some of these closed-ended questions and how do we open up those questions to learn more about what the customer is talking about. Are you here to make a payment? We identify that that is a closed-ended question because I can primarily say yes or no. So how do we open up that question? What brings you in today? What brings you in today is a very simple way to just open up that question. We talked about it in the first slide. It just kind of gives you that direction of talking to the customer, and they tell you what they need. Do you take a lot of pictures? We identified that that's a closed-ended question. So how do we change that and make it an open-ended question? We can ask something like, what do you like taking pictures of? What was the last thing you took a picture of? Where do you love going to take pictures at? Anything that allows them to start talking about what they love to take pictures of. How do you like using your camera? Oh, I only like taking videos. I only like taking pictures. I love taking panoramic pictures. I like taking, selfies. That way it just opens up more questions, more understanding of the questions of the customer's needs. Now, think about this. We always talk about asking open-ended questions, and they have to be relevant, meaning that you're going to do something with them. So if you know that the customer loves taking lots of pictures, they love taking selfies, they love taking panoramic pictures, whatever the case may be, you're going to identify, oh, the customer is going to need a phone with a really high quality camera or a good camera. So again, that's that imaginary bubble that's hanging over your head that you're depositing things into to start thinking about, okay, what is something that the customer is going to need, and you're going to confirm that with them. Or the customer can say, I hate taking pictures. I don't take pictures of anything, and they just don't like pictures. I haven't met anyone like that yet, but there might be someone out there that doesn't like taking pictures. So then you'll know in your mind, that mental note, all right, the camera might not be that important to them. All right. The next one is, do you use a lot of data? Again, that's a closed-ended question. How do we change that to an open-ended question? How much data do you currently use? What do you like using your phone with? What applications do you use? Those are the questions that you want to ask to just get more information and learn more about the customer. This one is one of the hardest ones that we have a lot of reps struggle with, is do you need a case while you're here? So that's a closed-ended question, is how do you recommend accessories? Like, that one is a tough one, and we definitely have a training for that hopefully everyone will be able to attend. But when it comes to making a recommendation on accessories, you don't want to do it as an afterthought. You don't want to do it when you're at the register ringing up the customer and be like, oh, did you need an accessory, a screen protector or a case with that? They're probably going to say no. However, when you start asking all these fantastic open-ended questions to learn about the customer and the customer's need, and you found out that the customer loves to work out, they love to jog, they love to run, they love to hike, when you're making that recommendation, you're going to say, so Liz, because you love working out, because you love running, because you love jogging, I recommend this wireless head armband. It's water resistant, sweat resistant. It goes in your arm, so that way when you're working out, you don't have to worry about holding your phone. You can just slip it in the case and you can just work out and hike without any problems. I also recommend these wireless headsets, so that way when you are running, you are hiking, you are working out, you don't have to worry about wires. One touch answers the phone, one touch goes right back to your music. That's very different than saying, do you need a screen protector or a case? Now you're going to show the customer the reason for that recommendation. And that's just something to kind of show you the reason why we want to ask these questions and how we want to ask them. So when you make those recommendations, they're with purpose and they're actually going to align with what the customer needs. The last question is, do you drop your phone a lot? Kind of weird question. Like, what do we want to do by finding out if the customer drops their phone a lot? It's a couple of things. You definitely want to think about, in your imaginary bubble, insurance for the phone, screen protector case. So the question would be, when's the last time you dropped your phone? How often do you drop your phone? Customer says, I never drop my phone. That's a lie. We all drop our phones. And you can kind of play around with it and go, oh my goodness, I just dropped my phone this morning. Thank goodness I have this screen protector or this case. If not, I would have broken this thing a long time ago. Seeds are being planted in that customer's mind. And now you can segue yourself into offering that insurance and offering some really great accessories. So again, do you drop your phone a lot? Close-ended. When was the last time you dropped your phone? How often do you drop your phone? Those are questions to kind of get that conversation going. All right. Play around with these questions. Definitely practice them. So now that we know the difference between an open-ended and a closed-ended question, and we understand that we're asking these questions to open up conversation, we're asking these questions to understand the needs of the customers, the last thing we want to do is remember that you never want to recommend a phone unless you really, truly understand what the customer is looking for. So even though you have asked all these questions and in your mental bubble, you have an idea of what the customer needs, you still have to have them tell you what they need. Why? There's power that we give to the customer when they tell you what they're looking for. If not, remember, the third reason why our customers leave is they absolutely hate the phone that the rep put them into. So when you ask them and they tell you and you recommend based on what they said, they're going to feel empowered, like they chose, they decided, it was their decision. So here are some questions that are going to help you ask those questions before you make that recommendation. And we're going to teach you a magic word that kind of sounds really funny, but it is a magical word. So here's some ways that you can ask the customer before you make a recommendation. What is something that you're looking for in a new phone? The customer has to tell you what they're looking for. It's an open-ended question. They're going to say something like, I'm looking for a phone that has a big screen. You're going to repeat it to the customer, and you're going to use your magic word. You're going to say, okay, you're looking for a phone with a big screen. What else? I'm looking for a phone that has a lot of storage. You're going to say, great, you need a phone with a big screen, a lot of storage, magic word. What else? I need a phone that has great camera quality. Now you've got 3 things that the customer has to have in a new phone. You're going to say, great, you need a phone with a big screen, a lot of storage, great camera quality. I've got 2 phones in mind. Let me show them to you. Now you didn't worry about price. You didn't worry about promo. You're actually concentrating on the needs of the customer. If it happens to be on a promotion, fantastic. If it happens to be free, great. But if not, the customer is going to understand that you're recommending based on their needs. So they might be willing to pay $50, $60, $70 because they understand that this is what they're looking for. Another way that you can ask that question is, what are the top 3 most important features that your new phone must have? You know what? I need a phone that's multifunctional because I'm going to use it for school. You're going to say, great, you need a phone that's multifunctional. What else? I need a phone that has a fast processor. You're going to say, okay, multifunctional, fast processor. What else? I need a phone that has a stylus because I'm going to be using it to take notes while I'm in school. You're going to say, okay, you need a phone that's got multifunctions, has a fast processor, and has a stylus. You know what? I have 1, maybe 2 phones in mind that fit that criteria. Let me show them to you. Again, your magic word is what else. When you ask the customer what else, it forces them to think of what else they're looking for. They're going to tell you, right? The last way that we've identified that is a good way to ask that question is, what is something that your old phone doesn't have that your new phone must have? And again, my old phone has a small cracked screen. I need a phone with a big screen. Fantastic. And you go through that process, and every time you ask them, what else, what else, what else? And then you make that recommendation. We always recommend that you never recommend to a customer that more than 2 phones. If you give them too many options, it might overwhelm them. They might get flustered. They might have to go home and think about it, do some research. But if you give them 2 good options, they're going to be able to pick something. So always remember, before you make a recommendation, you first must find out at least 3 things that the customer is looking for in a handset. From there, you can make the proper recommendation. All right. So now let's talk about an action plan. So we talked about a lot. We talked about a lot in this second section. We talked about 5 core questions. We talked about the greeting. We talked about open-ended versus closed-ended questions. And we talked about making sure that we know 3 things from the customer before we make a recommendation. So what we want you to do right now is write down some action plans. What are you going to incorporate into your interaction with your customers that you're currently not doing? We want you to take a moment to write them down. This is a really important part. This really sets the trajectory of your sales process and interaction with your customer. If you don't get this right, the customer might feel like maybe you don't know what you're talking about, if you don't have confidence, if you're not sure, and they might say, you know what, let me think about it and I'll be back. And then who knows if that customer is going to come back. So you got to make sure that this section, you guys really practice it and really incorporated it into your sales process. So that way, when you're interacting with your customer, you're building that rapport and you're building that trust with them. Fantastic.
Yeah, and the other thing to add to that is, there are going to be times when you're going to be really busy and you may not have, it might feel like, hey, asking these questions feel like a lot of time. But I tell you, if you don't ask these questions, it's going to take you even longer on the back end when you're making recommendations that the customer's like, oh, no, I don't want that. Oh, okay, well, how about this then? And then you repitch something else. And, oh, well, no, I kind of want this. So it ends up taking longer on the back end when we don't take the time up front to really understand what the customer really needs here. And in those times when you are busy, that's when you can really lean on those 5 core questions, because that will at least get you most of the essentials so that you can service the customer as best as possible while there's, a line out the door, which definitely can happen at times. So, recommendation overall, make sure that you ask as many questions as possible up front to truly understand what the customer needs. And during those times when you are busy, really lean into those 5 core questions so you can help people efficiently and effectively.
Fantastic. So now we're going to transition into the product knowledge that Martha's going to walk us through. We're going to learn a little bit about the system. We're going to learn a little bit about phones. We're going to learn a little bit about the platform. So while Martha's pulling it up, I just want you guys to make sure you take a lot of notes, because now that you know how to talk to the customer, how to interact with the customer, now you're ready to finalize the sale. This is where, if you're not efficient, the customer can start getting flustered. You can start getting hot under the collar. You start getting nervous because you might start making some mistakes. This is a really critical point of the process when it comes to the sales trajectory when you're talking to your customer. So this is that transition part.
Yeah. So as you're getting to know the customer, understanding what they currently have, what they need, why they're looking, it is going to be imperative that you really understand the products that you're selling. You're understanding the phones that we offer. You're understanding the plans that we offer, the accessories that you have, the bundling, the home internet. It is going to be crucial that you understand all of those things so you can ask informed questions when you're interacting with the customer. It is also going to help you in the actual presentation of your recommendation to the customer, because you're going to have confidence in what you're selling. You know the products that you offer, you understand what the customer needs, so you're able to make the best recommendation. And that confidence is going to also be instilled with the customer, that they're going to trust that you are truly making the best recommendation. It allows you to recommend the best solution for your customer's needs. Again, we don't want to promo sell here. We don't want to sell based off of whatever's the cheapest, whatever is free. That's not how we want to go, because that doesn't create a customer that's going to stay with us for a long time. That creates a customer that isn't as invested in the brand and is going to jump somewhere else next month or in 3 months. We want them to stay with us for as long as possible. So when we make that best solution based off of what their needs are, then they're going to stay with us in the long term, and you're going to have a lifelong customer. And the other reason why product knowledge is so important, because it helps the customer understand why they should buy what you're selling. We're tying together their needs with how this recommendation is going to meet their needs. And that is going to be crucial in their agreement and decision to go with what you're recommending them. So that's why you want to be as informed and knowledgeable as possible about the products that you're offering. Because we have a nice little quote here: in the absence of value, price always wins. So if you're not clear on the value of what you're recommending, the customer isn't going to understand why you're recommending what you're recommending. So at that point, they're just going to go with whatever's cheapest. And again, that's not going to create a customer that's going to stick around with us a long term. So the better you know the products, you're going to really be able to sell and speak to the value of the products. And when they see that value, they're going to be willing to pay more because they understand the value. So you want to make sure in your training, as you're learning about Boost and the phones and the plans, that you really absorb as much as possible about the products so you can make the best recommendations and serve your customers the best that they need. So let's talk a little bit more high level about product knowledge when it comes to the wireless industry in general. Some of the things that you're going to want to know are who our competitors are in the wireless space. Now, Boost Mobile is prepaid wireless, which means you pay for your bill at the beginning of your month before you actually use your month. Postpaid, on the other hand, you pay after you've already used that month's service. So prepaid, you pay at the beginning. Postpaid, you pay at the end. With Boost Mobile, we are prepaid. So our competitors are going to be Cricket. They're going to be Simple Mobile, Metro, Gen Mobile. There are others called Ultra as well, Leica, H2O. There are several other smaller prepaid companies as well. These are pretty much the bigger players. Your Cricket, your Simple, your Metro, and your Gen are going to be the competitors for Boost. Now, why is it important to know about our competitors on the prepaid side? Because the more that we know about our competitors, when customers ask us questions, hey, I'm with Cricket right now, I'm with Simple right now, I'm with Metro, you're going to be able to speak to the things that they're experiencing. So when a customer tells you, hey, I'm on the $40 plan with Metro, you're already going to know how much data comes with that plan. When they're telling you they got a certain device from Cricket that they're having issues with, you're going to know, okay, Cricket runs on AT&T. This is a known issue with that device. You're going to be able to speak to what the customer needs. So it's really important to understand who our competitors are and understand what promos they're running, what types of phones they sell. You know, there's definitely been times when I've had customers walk into the store and they'll say, oh, I have this phone with Metro and it's actually $50 cheaper on Metro. Well, because I did my homework, I know that that device on Metro actually has half the amount of storage that the one we're selling at Boost does. So I can speak to that. Yes, Mr. Customer, the phone is cheaper with Metro, and you're also getting half the amount of storage on that device. That's why it's $50 cheaper. So those are that's an example of why it's so helpful to understand the products and plans and promos that the other competitors are offering. Now, from a postpaid perspective, Boost, we are part of the Dish family, so we run off of the Dish network. The other postpaid carriers are Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. These are the main four postpaid competitors in the market. And so it's helpful to also know for the prepaid brands, which prepaid brand runs off of which postpaid network. Dish is in the process of launching their brand new network. It's already launched in some places across the country. And so Boost Mobile will be the first prepaid brand that will have its very own network to operate off of. So I think that's also a really great selling point for why Boost Mobile. So let's talk about some of the phones that are available at Boost Mobile. Now let's take a look at, we're going to take a look right now at two of the Galaxy phones offered by Samsung and why it's important for you to understand the difference in models. So yes, these two phones are going to be at different price points. They're both Samsung Galaxies, but they're different models. And it's important for you to understand the depth of the specs of each phone, again, so you can properly recommend the best phone to the customer. So for example, this first device that we have on the left is the Samsung Galaxy A23. Now that phone has a display, that screen size is 6.6 inches. Now, if we look at the Galaxy A03 on the other side, that one has a slightly smaller screen at 6.5 inches. So the A23 has just a slightly bigger screen than the other one. The cameras, however, are very different. So if you've got a customer that takes a lot of pictures, they really like to take videos, maybe they post a lot on social media, maybe they're an influencer. When you look at the difference in cameras, that's going to be a really big difference. So the A23, for example, has a 50 megapixel camera on the main camera, versus the A03 has a 13 megapixel camera. So already you have one camera that's about 5 times as strong as the other one. So if I've got a customer that likes to take a lot of pictures and do the photo editing and post and all of that, I'm really not going to want to recommend the A03 to them because I know that they're not going to have as good of a camera experience as they will with the A23. And from a memory perspective, when I look at the A23, the memory for an A23 is 4 gigabytes and the storage is 64 gigabytes. Versus when I look at the A03, that's 3 gigabytes of RAM that's available, but only 32 gigabytes of storage. So from that perspective, again, it's really important to know the difference. So I know, hey, if a customer needs storage, I'm going to want to recommend the A23 because it has far more storage than the A03. So these are some of the details that you want to start practicing and becoming familiar with, again, so you can make the best recommendation to the customer. Now, earlier, I had mentioned about knowing the difference with our phones versus Metro's phones, or Cricket's phones, or maybe Simple's devices that they have. One, here's some of the places and the resources that you can use to learn more about those types of devices. So if you look on the right side of the screen here, there is a website called phonescoop.com. PhoneScoop has this wonderful part of their website where you can compare phones from different carriers, different models, so you can see, okay, what is the difference? So what I did here is I took a screenshot and I've compared the Galaxy A23 to the Galaxy A03 to the Moto G Play, the new 2023 version. And when I look at this, I can see all the different carriers that it's offered on. I can see all the differences in the display size, the resolution type, display type. It gets into all of the different types of speakers and storage and all of those things within the phone. It gets very detailed. So this is something that you can use to learn more about the phones and understand the differences between the phones. It will also share as well the differences between carriers. So for example, if Boost is selling the A23 and Cricket's selling the A23, in this page, when you scroll down, it will show you the difference in which A23 is being offered on Cricket and which A23 is being offered on Boost. So this is a wildly helpful website so that you can start to see the differences and the comparisons between the phones as you learn the models. So you want to go to phonescoop.com and look for the phone comparison model, and that will be able to show you these different things. Some other resources that you have are Boost Star Training. So if you haven't already, you will be going through something called Star Training, and that is an online training to learn about Boost and the prepaid space, to learn about the different phones, learn about the home internet. It's going to go through all the technical things of that. So that's all found on Star Training. And the other resource is boostmobile.com. If you go to the main Boost Mobile website, you will also be able to get specifications on the different devices that they have. So you can see the battery life, the memory, the processor, the operating system, camera, display, dimensions, connectivity. So you're able to learn all of that on the Boost Mobile website. So those are some really good options for you as you continue to learn more about the phones. This is also great as well to learn more about the plans as well. Boostmobile.com is really clear in what comes with each plan on that. So I recommend checking out those different things. Now, when it comes to promo and pricing knowledge, why is that really important? That is really important because, like Liz mentioned earlier, we want to give the customer the right price from the beginning of the sale. Otherwise, it could cost you the sale. Because if I'm pricing things out and I think a phone, I kind of think this is on discount, it's $49.99, and I tell that to the customer, then I go to ring it up and I realize, oops, this phone actually isn't on promo and it's $129.99. It's going to be a very big difference in what the customer is planning on spending. And it is much harder to quote a low price and then to go back and say, just kidding, this phone's actually $80 more, versus telling them the higher price up front. So you want to make sure that you're really clear on all the promo and pricing so that we're giving the customer the accurate information and what they can expect to spend in the store. So nobody likes to be told a phone is free, only to find out that it's not actually free. If you think about it, it is a lot easier to walk down the stairs than it is to walk up the stairs. So you want to make sure that you know the promo and accurate pricing, so we're telling the customer the right prices. Now, what is a resource that we have that can show you the promo pricing? On the Boost Mobile portal, and also might be in your emails as well, there is something called the Boost Mobile Device Hot Sheet. And this breaks it down for you. This tells you all the current devices that are available. It will tell you if any device is end of life, meaning that there's not going to be any more shipments of it and that device is going to phase out. It will tell you the regular selling price, the SRP, the sales retail price. And then it will tell you, hey, if a customer is porting in, what's the price of that port in? If the customer is a new customer, let's say they're bringing they've got a new number that they're doing with Boost, what that price is. If it's a customer that's upgrading their phone and is taking advantage of an upgrade promotion, this is going to be the price of their device. If there's a special add-a-line discount, it will tell you that pricing. And it will also tell you the pricing if it's eligible for ACP, what that pricing is. So these are updated every few weeks. Anytime a promo change, price changes, this gets updated on the Boost Mobile Sales Portal. And so you have access to this to be able to see, okay, what is the current pricing? So in the beginning, as you are learning the devices and learning the pricing, it's really okay to have this available, whether you always have this up on your screen, whether you print it out and review it, so that when a customer asks how much this is and you know, okay, this is a port-in customer, you're able to go to your chart and see, okay, Moto G Pure, they're porting in, okay, great, this is a free device for you. So this is a great checks and balances for you. Don't hesitate or be afraid to use this when you're talking with a customer, because you're learning and you're training, and this is all part of how you learn. So the one thing here that you want to make sure of is you always want to make sure of, up here in the upper right, it says this effective date, effective February 17th, 2023. You want to make sure that this is a somewhat recent date. If I'm looking at this and it's effective November 17th, 2022, I will tell you right now it is outdated. So you do not want to go by that pricing. So make sure that you're using something, one that is updated, which again, the Boost Mobile Sales Portal will always have the most current one available. It also does get emailed to you guys from Boost News. So if you guys don't have it, your manager or the owner will definitely have a copy of it for you. So this is wildly, wildly valuable. Again, I cannot stress this enough. If you give the customers the right price from the beginning, then you won't have many obstacles to overcome. If we give them the wrong price from the beginning, we can actually lose the sale. So again, we want to make sure that we are clear on the promo and pricing and giving the customer the accurate information so they can make the best decision for them. So let's talk about two different types of customers that come into the store and some of the different transactions that they might need to, that you'll need to know how to do when you're in the store. So the two types of customers that you're going to have in the stores, you're going to have your new customers. They're new to Boost. Maybe they've been on Boost a while ago. Now they're coming back, but they haven't been with Boost for a while, or maybe they've never been with Boost. And then you also have your existing customers. These are the ones that are currently with Boost. And the more quickly you can identify which type of customer you have, if they're a new customer or an existing customer, the better you'll know what type of opportunities are there based off of the type of customer that they are. So you'll be able to know, okay, this is a new customer, so these are the types of promos they might be eligible for. Okay, they're an existing customer, these might be the promos and deals that they're eligible for. So you want to understand, especially with those 5 core questions that we talked about, to really help understand, is this a new customer or an existing customer? So one of those questions is, hey, what carrier are you currently with? That's going to tell you, oh, are they a new customer or an existing customer? So let's take a look at the new customers and some of the potential transactions you might do with a new customer. The first one is a new activation. This is a customer that is getting a brand new number. They currently don't have a phone number, or for whatever reason want a brand new one. This is going to be a new activation customer. They don't have a number that they want to bring over, so that is going to be a new activation customer. And we have a port-in activation. This is a customer that is bringing their current number over to Boost. So they have an existing number and they want to bring it over to Boost. That is called a port-in. Now, it's also important to note that with the port-in customers, just because they are bringing a number over does not mean that they're always eligible for a port-in promo. So you're just going to want to check on that, because they might not be eligible for a port-in promo just because they're bringing their number over. Another transaction you might have is a BYOD activation. BYOD stands for bring your own device. And that is when a customer comes into the store and says, hey, I've got this phone and I'd like to activate it. Again, they could be doing a new activation, they could be bringing another number over, but they're not going to be purchasing a phone from Boost. They're already bringing the device to you. Now, also in the sales portal is a list of eligible BYOD devices, because depending on the carrier and depending on how old the device is, it might not be eligible to BYOD. So on there, on the Boost Mobile sales portal is an updated list that shows all of the eligible devices and what carriers are eligible for BYOD. Because of differences in networks and how phones are made to connect to networks, sometimes some of the older devices aren't equipped for how Boost Mobile runs. So just keep that in mind. Another transaction you might have is a reactivation. And this is a customer that already owns a Boost Mobile device and wants to get a new Boost Mobile service. So this means they've already got a Boost Mobile device and they're saying, hey, I want a new number on the same device. That's a reactivation. And then we have ACP. This is our government assisted program where we have different devices. We have hotspots that are available that a new customer might be eligible for. We'll talk about that a little bit more in detail later, but that might also be one of your transactions. So shifting over to the existing customers, one of the transactions, probably the most common one you will run into, is an RTR airtime payment. This is where they're paying their monthly bill. So they're coming in every month to say, hey, I'm here to pay my bill. You take their phone number and it tells you, okay, they're on the $50 plan, they're on a family plan, whatever it is, and then they will pay for that bill. So that is an existing customer that will come in to make their monthly payment. Now, Airtime payment customers might seem really simple as, okay, I just take their payment and bye-bye. But these are actually some of the greatest opportunities to increase your sales. This is a great opportunity to see, hey, do they have other people in their family that they want to do an add-a-line with? Or do they want to start a family plan? Or do they maybe need some more accessories? So this is a customer that's already coming into the store that it is a great opportunity to talk with them and to understand, hey, are there maybe some other needs here for them that you can then, yes, take their payment, but upsell them as well, maybe get new activations, accessory sales, that type of thing. Great. So let's talk about another type of transaction is an add-a-line transaction. And this is a customer that currently has an account with us and they are wanting to add on additional numbers onto additional lines onto their plan. It could be something that they're wanting a new number added on. It could be, they've got, a partner or a kid that they want to port in a number, but that would be what an add-a-line is. They're adding an extra line onto their plan. Then we have upgrades and ineligible device swaps. So these are customers that want to upgrade their devices. And they currently have been with Boost. They have to be with us for a minimum of 180 days to be able to qualify for any of the upgrade promos. So they may be coming in, yes, to make a payment, but also to upgrade their device because they're eligible for a new device at a discounted price. Now, there might be times where a customer wants to upgrade their device, but they're not eligible for any of the upgrade promos. That's okay. They're just going to be paying full price for the device. So there isn't going to be any promo. That we call an ineligible device swap because we're swapping their device out for a new one. They're just not eligible for an upgrade yet. And that's okay. There's very many realistic scenarios where a customer needs to switch out or wants to switch out their device. Then another transaction that we have is also ACP with an existing customer. Again, they could be coming in for a payment. Maybe they need help with their phone, and that could be an opportunity to assess, hey, are they eligible for ACP? Could they take advantage of the hotspot or the phones that are offered with ACP? And then we have accessories. And accessories actually really apply to both here. We've got accessories for new customers and accessories for existing customers. Customers may come in with broken devices, or you see that they've got a crack, and they're maybe not eligible for an upgrade. Great, let's get them some accessories here that they can, that they can use to continue to protect their phone. So one other transaction that you can have for an existing customer is home internet. So they may be coming in to pay their home internet bill. They may be coming in asking for internet and they're already a Boost customer. So you can understand what their needs are and make the best recommendation. Now, depending on what area you live in and depending on what area the store is in, there's two options for home internet. Only one of those will be available in the store. So depending on your area, you might be a Comcast home internet store, or you might be a Cox, depending on what part of the country you're in. So some of the things, go Liz.
Yeah, Martha. And then the same thing for the home internet. It both applies to new customers and existing customers. So this would actually be on both sides for internet for customers that qualify within that area.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Liz. So when it comes to existing customers and that payment customer comes in, so often in the stores, I'll see reps just asking, are you here to make a payment? Again, close-ended question. Yes, I'm here to make a payment. Okay, great. What's your phone number? And they plug it in and okay, that's $50. You exchange the money, bye-bye. That is a great opportunity to ask them questions. And to ask them, hey, what phone do you have? How long have you had it? How do you like it? Is there anything you're not liking about the device? What do you like to do for fun? You can start asking those questions to see, hey, is there an opportunity to do an add-a-line? Is there an opportunity for ACP, for accessories, for home internet? Are they maybe eligible for an upgrade? So those are some things that, you really want to keep in mind when you get a payment customer, because they're more than just a payment customer. And the more you ask questions, the more opportunities you're going to find to sell them additional products. So your payment customers might seem really simple, and they are gold. So don't forget about also taking care of your airtime payment customers. So I talked a little bit about this on the previous slide, but just to walk through some of these guys a little bit more in detail. A new activation for this new customer. This is a customer, again, it's a brand new number. They don't have a number. They don't want to use their current number. They want a brand new number with Boost. That we call a new activation. Then we also have a port-in activation, and that is when a customer wants to keep their current number and they're bringing it over to Boost. Now, one thing to note here is that the customer cannot have been a Boost customer within the past 120 days. If they were a customer within a Boost customer within the past 120 days, yes, they can port their number over, but they are not eligible for the promotions. So they will be paying full price for that device. That's really important to note. The port-in checker on the sales portal and on Elevate will show you that. It'll say whether it's eligible or ineligible, because most customers, if you ask them, how long have you been with your current carrier, they're not going to say 91 days, or they're not going to say 140 days. They probably don't know. So you can plug it into that checker and it will tell you if they're eligible for port-ins or not. So you can rely on that. The other transaction that we talked about, BYOD, bring your own device. They're bringing their own device from another carrier that they want to use a Boost number with. So in that case, you want to make sure that the device is locked. You want to make sure unlocked, excuse me. You want to make sure the device is unlocked. You want to make sure it's an eligible device that can be brought over to Boost. And then in that case, you're going to use one of the Boost SIM cards that you have in the store, and you're going to pop that in to activate the device. Then we also have reactivations. This is when they've already got their Boost device and they're wanting to get some sort of new Boost mobile service, get a new number on their device, that type of thing. Now we have ACP, which is a newer program. This is the government assisted program. And so in this, you really need to understand from the customer, if they receive certain benefits from the government. Do they receive Lifeline benefits? Do they use SNAP, Medicaid? What are some of the different federal programs that they're able to use? There's a list of qualifications with ACP, and there is a specific ACP training that you must take in order to sell ACP that outlines everything that qualifies a customer for ACP. And that can be on the device side, on the hotspot side. And so with that, as you're talking with the customer, if you're learning different things about, oh, they're on Medicaid, oh, they're on this federal program, then they might be a really great customer to pitch ACP to, that they can take advantage of those devices and those savings. So make sure that you do take that ACP training so you can have all the details and get certified to sell ACP. Then one of the last ones is home internet. Again, like I mentioned, depending on where you're at in the country, you might be selling Cox home internet, or you might be selling Comcast Xfinity home internet. And that is a pay-as-you-go internet service for customers that might not be able to get internet through the normal means. Maybe their building isn't pre-wired for internet. Maybe they can't get a satellite. Maybe it's just not wired into where they live. So Cox and Comcast are great options that are no contract. There's no deposit, no credit check, none of that. And there's different plan options with different data, different amounts of data, depending on what the customer needs. So that is also a very, very valuable option for our customers. So let's walk through some of the ones for existing customers. We've got your RTR pay pins. These are your payment customers paying their monthly bill. You've got your add-a-line customers that have a current active account with Boost and are wanting to add another line onto their account. You have your upgrades and ineligible device swaps. Upgrades are when a customer is eligible for the promos. Ineligible device swap is when a customer wants to get a different phone, but they're just not eligible for a promo. Then you have your accessories, which are great if a customer is doing an add-a-line or they're upgrading the device. They're probably going to need to have accessories for that. And then you have ACP, like we talked about as well, and that same prepaid home internet. That will be Cox or Comcast, depending on where you live. Now, we mentioned earlier about the importance of knowing the pricing. So yes, you want to know the pricing of all the devices. You want to know the pricing of all the plans. Let's talk through some of the different transaction types and make sure that you're aware of the different pricing that's included in that. So let's say you're doing a new activation with a $50 plan and it's a port-in customer. So they're bringing their number over from another carrier to Boost. When it comes to pricing, you will plug this all into Elevate, and Elevate will give you the total of what that is going to be. What that is going to include, it's going to include the price of the device, the promo price, the full price, whichever it is. It's going to include the setup fee or the activation fee, whichever you call it. It is going to include the price of the plan. So what monthly plan are they signing up for? And it will also include any convenience fees and any additional taxes that need to be collected. So depending on the transaction type, it is going to have a combination of all of those different things on it. So when in doubt, please go through Elevate, log everything in, whether you scan it in, type it in, and Elevate will give you the full price for whatever you are selling the customer, so you can quote the customer appropriately. Again, like we talked about, the worst thing we can do is to give the customer an inaccurate price and tell them something is cheaper than it actually is. So we definitely don't want to kill the sale. So let's talk through some additional resources that are available. I have referenced the Boost Mobile Sales Portal a few times, and this is what the Boost Mobile Sales Portal looks like. If you look on the left-hand side, the screenshot that has all the yellow in it, this is going to give you all of the up-to-date information on what's happening with Boost. So you have important messages, if there's pricing changes, promo changes, all of that is going to show right there. Then along the right-hand side, you are going to have some quick links here at the bottom that will take you immediately to, like, for example, the top one is Boost Promotion one-pagers. That gives you what the current promotions are accurately. This is where you can find the breakdown of all the phones and what the pricing is depending on what promo or non-promo they're taking advantage of. This is where you can find the eligibility list for the Bring Your Own devices. This is where you can find, you can do the port-in eligibility checker. So you've got your PIC eligibility check here about halfway down the list. You can check there to say, hey, is this customer eligible for a port-in? So these are some of the links that are available on the Boost Mobile Sales Portal. I highly recommend that you spend some time on the sales portal, because this is going to give you a lot of information here that's going to catch you up to speed on the promos, the phones, on everything that's going on with Boost, so you can be as informed as possible. So I do recommend spending some time here. When you look up at the top, you've got your home button. That is all of this page. I recommend really spending a lot of time in the training and the resources tabs here. That's where you're going to have a wealth of information about Boost and all the offerings that they have. So now we're going to shift gears and we're going to start talking about systems. There are a lot of systems that Boost has, and processing transactions correctly is going to be crucial, not just for you, but also for the customer experience as well. So you want to make sure that you understand how the different systems operate, what things you do in which systems, what SIM cards you need to use, so that you can do the transaction properly using the right system. So we're going to now spend some time walking through the different Boost systems. We're going to walk through the different SIM cards, all of those things, so you can be as clear as possible on what you need to use for which transactions. So there are 3 different systems that are combined into one. So you have your Boost Mobile activation portal. You have your ePay system, and then you have this register down here that is Boost Elevate. These are all connected into one system. So you do your activations, your payments, and all of your transactions, your accessory sales. You are all going to do that through one system. So let's take a deeper look at Elevate, where you can do your phone activations and your web posts. So when a customer comes into the store and they are wanting to do some sort of transaction with you, whether it's a new phone, whether it's a payment, you are always going to log into Boost Elevate. And when you log into Boost Elevate, you're going to see your options there for what type of customer you're going to be servicing. Is this a payment customer? And then it's going to take you to ePay so you can make that payment. Is it an activation? It's going to take you to the Boost sales portal so you can do the phone activation through there and the payment through there. Everything is now all combined in Boost Elevate. So when you go to do a transaction with a customer, the first thing you are going to do is to log into Boost Elevate, and it will give you choices of where you need to take the sale from there. So let's talk a little bit about what to use when. So there are various systems, various SIM cards, and not everything is as neat and clean as we would like it at the moment. So we want to spend some time reviewing with you how to best assess what you need to use when. So there are different portals that you can take payments through, different portals that you can do activations through. There's all these different types of SIMs, and it can get confusing at times what to use when. What is going to dictate what system and SIM you're going to use is going to be whatever device the customer decides fits their need. The device is going to determine which payment system you're going to use and which SIM card you're going to use. So the first thing that happens is the customer chooses the device. You make a recommendation. They might agree with that device. They might say, hey, I need a different one. I want to do this one. Whatever device they end up choosing, that device is going to determine which SIM to put in it. And it is also going to determine then which payment system you are going to use. So then the second thing that happens is the sales rep, you are going to then check which SIMs can be input into that device, because it might not be both of them. It might just be one. And then from there, you, the sales rep, are going to verify which activation portal to use. Now, I'm sure you're asking yourself, how the heck am I going to know this? Let me show you. So back to that Boost Mobile hot sheet that I showed you earlier. This is the list of all of the devices that are eligible. This is a screenshot, so this is just some of the devices. The hot sheet is longer than this. And it's giving you here along the right side all the different pricing. Now, if you look, you've got a column here that's the device name. And then right next to it, you have a column that says XP, and then you have a column that says GSF. XP is the legacy portal, and XP can only take the orange SIM. GSF is the newer portal, and this one can take the white SIM, the black SIM, or the rainbow SIM. And we will get more into the SIMs in just a minute. But this is where you know, okay, these are the devices. I know what SIMs can go in it, and I therefore know which portal to use. So, for example, if I am this Samsung A23 that we keep talking about, and I go here and I look, I can see, oh yes, it can go on the legacy portal and it can take a legacy SIM, and it can also be activated on the GSF portal and use a GSF SIM. So I know for the A23 that can take both. So at that point, then I'm going to ask the customer some more questions to see what they want. However, you will see that some of these devices, like the TLC30Z over here, this one can actually only be activated on the newer portal on GSF. So it can only take the white, black, or rainbow SIM. Same thing here, the Nokia C200, it can only go on GSF using the white, black, or rainbow SIM. So you want to make sure that you check this device hot sheet so you know for sure which activation portal to use and which SIM to plug into that device. So let's talk about the SIMs. As I mentioned, there are 4 different SIMs out there. We have our rainbow SIM, our black SIM, our white SIM, and our orange SIM. The orange SIM is our legacy SIM. So this can only be activated on the legacy sales portal. You cannot use the GSF or Elevate Web. Those are both, GSF and Elevate Web are the same thing. Orange can only be used, activated using the legacy sales portal, and you can only use the orange SIM in it. So if you have a device that is legacy only, know that you can only put an orange SIM in there. Now, we also then have a white, black, and rainbow SIM. These all are activated on the guided sales flow, the GSF, or the Elevate Web. There's 3 different fun names for it. So whichever one you guys call it, that's where you need to make sure that you activate it on those portals. The white SIM is technically called the BEDN network that runs off of T-Mobile towers. The black SIM is called BTN, which technically runs on the AT&T towers. And the rainbow SIM is a brand new SIM, and it is not available everywhere. It is only available in certain markets where the Dish network has launched, and this is Dish's SIM. So this runs on the Dish network. So these top 3, if you're activating a customer using any of these 3 SIMs, you want to make sure that you're using Elevate Web, or the guided sales flow, or the GSF, whichever you want to call it. You want to make sure you're activating it on that system. If you're activating an orange one, you want to make sure that you're using the legacy system. Now, what we want to do is we want to make sure that everyone is getting activated on the GSF system as often as possible. Again, the device dictates that. So there are some devices that a customer might want that can only be activated on legacy. But for the most part, you are really going to be activating most customers on GSF. At this point, it really becomes up to the customer with which network they want to be on. So if a customer wants to be on the T-Mobile network, then you're going to want to give them a white SIM card. Maybe they want to be on the AT&T network. Maybe T-Mobile doesn't work at their home, but they know AT&T does. Okay, great. Let's get them a black SIM card. And then maybe you're in a market where the Rainbow SIM and Dish Network is available, then great. You can put them on the Dish Network and give them a Rainbow SIM. So these are the 4 different SIMs, the networks that they operate off of, and the system you want to use to activate it. Again, going back to the process, it all starts with the device that the customer wants. If a customer wants a device that is only eligible for maybe an Orange SIM and can only be on the legacy portal or the legacy system, but they want to be on AT&T, then you can just have that conversation with the customer. Hey, Mr. Customer, the phone that you selected can only be on the T-Mobile network. If you want to be on the AT&T network, then I would recommend this device, which can be activated on the AT&T network. So if that comes up with a customer, just let them know and let them decide how they want to move forward. Overall, we are moving everything to GSF. So when possible, as often as possible, which will be most of your transactions, you're going to want to use the GSF system. So let's walk through some scenarios here. Let's say a customer wants a legacy device. What you're going to do is, okay, you know the customer wants a legacy device. Then you know, okay, in that case, this is going to be the Orange SIM. They're going to have access to the T-Mobile towers, and I'm going to activate it on the legacy portal. Let's say a customer brings a BYOD device. Depending on what that device is, I can check the hot sheet to see, okay, is this a legacy device or is this a GSF device? Is this a device that, or can it be activated on both? In which case, I'm going to ask the customer what their preference is. If they want to be on the legacy system, then you know it's the Orange SIM that you're going to put in. If they want to be put on, the GSF system, they want the BEDN network, the BTN network, the DISH network, then I'm going to ask them questions to understand which network they prefer to be on, T-Mobile, AT&T, or DISH when it's available. In the third scenario, let's say a customer is on a family plan that's on a legacy plan. Now, if a customer is on a family plan, that's one of the legacy plans, they've got a legacy phone, legacy SIM, and one of the family plan members wants to switch devices to an updated device that would be on the GSF system, then that becomes a conversation of, hey, you can't have one customer on a GSF system and GSF phone and the rest of the family on legacy. It all has to be the same. So that becomes a family decision of how they want to handle that. Do they want to switch everyone over, or does the customer that wants to switch, do they stay on legacy? So that's really up to the customer for them to decide, but no, for a family plan, you can't have them on both. It is one or the other. Liz, can you think of any other scenarios that might come up that we can walk through?
No, I think those are the 3 most common scenarios that we'll find right now. Great.
Awesome. So we've given you a lot of information on the systems, on the SIMs, all of that. So I want you guys to think about and write down for yourself. I want you to write down, what are the biggest takeaways you learned today? What did you learn in this training? Why is that so important to you? And I also want you to write down, what are some questions that came up for you? Because your homework is going to be to work with your manager or the owner to get those questions answered. Because we gave you a lot of information today about the sales process, about first impressions, salesmanship, sales effectiveness, the systems. Give you a lot of information that we want you now to work with your manager or your owner to get some of those other questions answered for you. And you're going to see, as you shadow people on your team, you're going to start to see how these things actually, what they look like in real time. So take a moment to write that down. And we want to thank you for viewing the new hire training. We hope this was valuable to you. We hope that you learned a lot, and we look forward to seeing you in many of our other trainings that we offer live. Good luck. Welcome aboard to Boost, and we're glad to have you.